Let's go ahead and get started with 9.1. This is our introduction to 9.1. And this is the ellipse part 1. We're going to be graphing ellipses. All right, now before we get started, there's a couple things that I want you to notice first. So this is the standard form of the equation of an ellipse. Now there's two different ones that you really need to pay attention to, and we're going to get to it in just a minute. But if the value under the x squared is greater, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but it's greater, oops, that is not what I meant to do. So if the value under the x squared, it's greater than the one under the b, you're gonna be using this equation, okay? You're going to be using this equation, and your graph is going to look like this graph right there, which means that we have a horizontal kind of function. All right. If the value under the y squared is greater, then this is what your equation is going to look like, and your graph is going to be a vertical graph. Okay. Now, I want you to just kind of pay attention to this equation. In this equation, we're going to use them on the other side, but I want you to notice where they're from, okay? You're going to be using this equation if that is the equation you're using, and if that is the equation you're using, okay? All right, for now, let's just go ahead and graph them. So the first thing we need to do is we need to identify the A, we need to identify the B, and we need to identify the foci. Okay, that's how you say it, foci. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and divide this, everything, by 144 because I want my, I guess my value to equal 1, just like this one. Okay, notice that they both equal 1. All right, so what do we get? So 16 divided by 144, I'm going to save you the math. That's going to give you a fraction, which if you use a calculator, should be pretty easy. But it should give you 1 over 9, which means you can rewrite as x squared over 9. Okay, again, for those people that are wondering how I got that, if you take 16 over 144, you can simplify by hand or using the calculator. That gives you 1 over 9, which is where the 9 came from, okay? Obviously, the x goes on top. Plus 9y squared divided by 144, that's actually just y squared over 16. And obviously, 144 divided by 144, that's just 1. So here's your equation. And the first thing we need to identify is that this value, it's greater, which means we're gonna use that equation right there, okay? And I'm just gonna draw it right under it. So this is x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1. Okay, so now that we know that, we for sure know that a is 16, or a squared 16. So if a squared is equal to 16, that means that a is equal to 4. Again, how did I get that? Well, I need to get rid of the square root, so I square root of both sides, so I get 4. B, well, b squared is equal to 9, which means that b is equal to 3. Again, how do I get that? Take the square root, and that gets rid of the square. And now to identify the foci, and actually before we do that, let's go ahead and graph this, okay? So we found A, which means that is your vertex, okay? That is your vertices. And remember, every time you square root something, you get plus or minus. So you got 2 vertices. You got one at 0, negative 4, and another one at 0, positive 4. So those are going to be your vertices, okay? And how do I know that the 0 goes first? You kind of just know by this equation. Because you're using this equation, your A is this one, which means your A should look like that, That's how you know that 0 goes first and then the A value. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot those points. I got 0, -4, which is right there, and then 0, up 4, which is right there. Now for the B, notice that your B value is going to be this one right there, which means the B actually goes first. So I'm going to do that on green, and that is the co-vertex. Well, we know, again, this is plus or minus, so it's going to be -3, 0, and then 3, 0. So -3, 0 is right there, and 3, 0 is right there. All right? And we can kind of already draw a picture. So this is going to look like this if we connect the points. And then the last thing that we gotta find is we gotta find the foci. Okay. Now, because we are using the second equation, the foci is actually given by your C value. And since it's given by your C value, which is not given in the equation, then we gotta use that formula, which is C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. And now all I got to do is plug in the numbers and then find the answer. Okay. Well, remember, this is C squared is equal to, well, we know what A squared is. We know A squared is equal to 16, so we can just write 16. Minus B squared, we already know that B squared is equal to 9, so we can just write 9. And if we simplify this, this is C squared is equal to 16 minus 9, which is 7. We take the square root to get rid of the square. So C is equal to plus or minus the square root of 7. Okay. So we got to go ahead and find that point. And going back to my graph, the foci, the 0 goes first and then the C value. So that means it's going to be 0, negative radical 7, and then 0, positive radical 7. And then we just go ahead and plot those points. Now, radical 7, we got to put that in the calculator. The square root of 7 is equal to 2.6. So we can actually estimate this. This is going to be about negative 2.6. And then same thing here. This is going to be 0, positive 2.6. So let's go ahead and plot those points. 0 down negative 2.66 about there. And then 0, 2.6 is about there. And there's your function. That's how it should look like. Okay. Again, the one thing that I would really watch for is you gotta see which equation you're gonna be using. You can pause the video, go back to it, rewatch it again, but you really need to pay attention. Am I using 1 or am I using 2? And that's really going to make things different. For example, notice that here your B value is actually on top, and your B value actually goes after the 0 rather than first. Same thing with the A value. Here the A value goes first, and then here the A value goes second. So you really gotta look at those differences. All right, go ahead and turn the page over. And then the last thing is we're gonna write an equation on an ellipse in standard form. This should be pretty easy. We're gonna be using the 2 equations. So the first thing we gotta know is, well, we gotta know if we're gonna be using the first equation or the second equation. Well, how do we know that? Well, graph it and see how it looks. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you do gotta be somewhat accurate with the graph. So we got negative 2, 0, which is right there. 2, 0, which is right there. Negative 3, and then 3. So if I graph this, I can already see it. But this is going to be a vertical ellipse. which is number 2. So I'm going to be using the second equation. Y squared equals b squared plus y squared equals a squared is equal to 1. All right. Now that I know that, well, then I can just go ahead and kind of figure this out. Right. Wait. -3. Ooh, actually. Yeah, no. Yeah. -3, -2. Ooh, no. Hold on. I'm gonna do this again real quick because I did not plot those points correctly. Hold on. Give me a quick minute. I'm gonna draw this again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's see. -3, 0. Oh, I see. It says find the standard form of the equation of an ellipse with the foci. So this is the foci. Okay. And the vertices are -3, 0. So -3 is right here, and then 3 is right there. The foci is -2, 0, which is right here, and 2, 0. So obviously we don't have a completed circle. So what we do gotta watch for is, well, where are the foci located? Well, the foci is located on the left and the right side. So if we go back to our notes, where are the foci located? Well, for number 2, the foci is located on the y-axis. Here, the foci is located on the x-axis, which is actually what we wanted. So now we know that we're going to be using that formula. Okay, perfect. All right, that was a little mistake there. We almost messed it up, or I almost messed it up. Okay, so we're going to be using the first equation, which is x squared divided by a squared. You can look that on your notes. I don't want to go back and forth, so I'm just giving it to you. So that is number 1. Okay, this is equation number 1. Perfect. This makes it even easier because now we can try to figure our a and our b value. Well, a is really easy. A is just going to be a squared. Well, they're giving us a because they're giving us the vertices. Those two values, if you go back to our picture, the vertices, okay, right there, the vertex right there and the vertices right there, they're both a values, which means we don't really need to find them. They're given to us. Well, if a is equal to plus or minus 3, well, that means that a squared is equal to, well, what is that square? That's just 9. So a is just 9. Plus y squared is equal to b squared. Well, on this one, how do we find b? Well, if we go back to our previous example, I'm going to clean this a little bit more. Okay, if we go back to our previous example, since we're using this equation, in order for us to find b, we got to use that equation. So let's go ahead and do that. So b squared is equal to a squared minus c squared. Perfect. Let's go ahead and find this. So b squared is equal to, well, a squared is, we already know it's 9, minus, well, what is c squared? Well, c squared is actually just the foci, which we know the foci is 2, or plus or minus 2. So this is just 2 squared. Okay, and if we simplify this, well, b squared is equal to 9 minus 4, which is equal to, b squared is equal to 5. And then, so that's the answer. B squared is equal to 5, so we can just plug it back in here. And that's your equation. Okay, so again, really watch out. Do you have a horizontal circle or ellipse, or do you have a vertical ellipse? So that's really going to depend on which equation you're going to be using. All right, good luck on the homework.